This is part 3 of the video series, How to Set Up a Laser. My name is Richard Mendenhall. This is AVXpro. We got the laser set up now. It's ready to go. Let's get a board ready. And let me flip the camera around here. So the first thing we need to do is treat the board. This is going to be our board. Normally I sand it to 150. Our solution is called the Borax Method, right? And what it does is it gets the image a lot darker than what it normally would be. So the recipe is 5 ounces of water, 1 tablespoon of borax, and throw it in the microwave for about 1.5 minutes, maybe 2. All right, stir it up. The reason for the heat is because we're trying to pack as much borax in as possible, so the heat allows us to get a little bit more. And I try to do it hot because that'll open up the pores of the wood and get a little bit more borax in there. Cool stuff. So, pretty stir it up. This is my my cup I use. You got your foam. I usually put 2 coats on so it's nice and saturated, because I've had it happen sometimes where I think that I've got it on, but it's only like maybe just a little bit, and it's not as good as it could be. Nothing that ruined a print, but good exercise. We're going to leave some left over so that you can see the difference between what's been treated and what is not. I splotched right here so you can see the difference between the borax and the non-borax after it dries, because you'll see that it's like got a yellow tinge to it. So I just do the whole board front and back, but since this is just a test board, we can get away with the line. It's not a big deal. And then it'll go up on my drying rack here. So it's ready in an hour. I try to let it sit overnight just to be safe. But if you really need it, then give it an hour and it's good to go. So in the last video, we got the laser hooked up, we got the software in, and we were able to get like a laser point on a board. So that is awesome. Okay, so the first thing starting up is, how do you even know like what speed or feed or anything to hit it at? Well, this is how we're going to figure it out. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here and move it over. And this is a box icon right here. And I like to make my boxes about 10 millimeters. Now what I'm doing here is I'm making something called a color swatch. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this box and we're going to copy it. See, I hit Control D there. Whoop! Did that just change? I'm going to hit Control Z and back up the step. It did. Look, it's 11. Okay. And then in Lightburn, if you hit Control Shift and Z, it's like Control Z moves back a step, Control Shift and Z moves forward a step. See, there we are, 10, 10, 10, and 10. So that looks good. So now I'm going to select my arrow icon. Now the part itself is selected, and I'm going to hit Control D, which is duplicate. Now I have a second one, and I'm going to hold down Shift, and that's going to only let it move in one direction or the other. Control D, hold down Shift, move it over, Control D. I'm making 5 boxes here. Let me zoom in a little bit here so we can see it a little bit closer. Okay, so we have 5 boxes. The problem is they're all on the same layer down here on the color box. We want to assign different settings for each box. That way we can run 5 different settings at the same time, and we can see which one we like best. Maybe we don't like any of them, but we're going to go up to our arrow here, select it, select the box we want, and we're going to put it on such and such layer. Doesn't matter which one. We're going to do the same thing and pick a different layer. And again and again and again. Okay, so on the first layer here, we're going to open up the settings, and we're going to change the output so that it is outputting now. We're going to change the speed to 18,000 because I like to try a target speed and then I adjust my power range around that. And if I don't like the settings that if I don't like the settings, then I go ahead and start slowing the machine down from there. We're going to change the max power to 80. Change from line to fill because we want to have a solid box here. We don't want to have just a line. Bidirectional is okay. No overscanning, that's good. Line interval and per inch, the DPI is going to be 300. 300 is good for a simple project like a welcome sign. The scan angle should be 0. Number of passes is going to be 1. We're going to make this default for all. That'll save us some typing. Hit OK, and we're going to go to the next box, which I'm going to highlight it on the screen. You see it's the next one down. Sometimes they're out of order, so it's good to highlight it on the screen and see where you're at on the cut list. If you need to make an adjustment in which, this is actually doing the cuts in order. It'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. And so if you need to make an adjustment in your cut list, that is right here where you can move it down or up in the list, depending on what you need. In this case, it doesn't really matter. And we're going to come back to the settings. And we're going to reset the default. That's going to put all the changes that we just made back in. And then we're going to go max power 60. It's just a random number that I'm trying. You'll get a feel for maybe try this or try that. It doesn't really matter that much when you're setting up the test. And this time we're going to do 50. Okay. And we're going to open the settings, reset the default. We'll try 40. And lastly, we'll do 20. Okay. So now we see everything looks good here. 18,000 across, filled, 80, 60, 50, 20, 40. Now we can go to the machine. Quick caveat about the build surface. This is 2 layers of pegboard that I tape down so that it stays in place, and then I have adjustable shelf brackets that I push into the holes if I need end stops. This build surface wouldn't work for cutting, but it's okay for laser engraving. I haven't had too much trouble with like fire. It is a possibility, of course, so take that in mind that wood does burn, you know. But for me, I've been using this build surface for a couple of years now, and it's been pretty good for me. All right, keep in mind, you want to double check your focus. See, my focus is a little bit off there. I thought I was good. I am not. So we're going to lift it up. Okay, there it is, just where it needs to be. And then check across to make sure that your board isn't lifting or lowering across. It could be bowed. It could just not be on there straight. Who knows? And that looks pretty good right there. Now these boxes are in the wrong spot on the screen where my wood is on the machine. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to get my arrow tool. I'm going to make a box around everything, and it's going to select it all, and then it can allow me to move it at once. The frame tool here will like draw a box around where the print is going to be on the machine. If you hold down shift at the same time, it will fire the laser. So no shift, it just kind of like moves around it. I don't really understand why. If you hold down shift, then it'll fire the laser. You can see exactly where it is. So let's try that. That's pretty good, but I want to move it down some so it's closer to the edge. All right. That looks good to me, so we're going to go ahead and pull the trigger. We're going to hit start. Is that not cool? This machine is great. You can see that that one is way too light. That one's light. That's about perfect. And then over here, we're hitting it a little bit too hard. And you can see where on the left-hand side, it's just not quite as dark as it should be. Like, we've actually hit it so hard that the borax is blown out, you know, or at least that's what it seems like, because you can hit it too hard. So this middle one is what we want. Now, other swatches you'll find on the internet, they like have numbers, you know, say, oh, look, that's S80, that's S60. I don't do the numbers. I think that it's like kind of a waste of board space. And also, like, I've got the file right in front of me, so I can just look and see. So I like the middle one. My voice apparently is going out. Damn. Congratulations, we have our settings. Now, your settings may be the same as mine, they may be different. Okay, so coming over to pixabay.com, I found this image. This looks pretty good for startup, you know, it's just black and white. So we're going to go to free download. We're going to download this image and it can't be reached because my internet, you know. And Pixabay is a free site. I'm pretty sure that we're okay to use it. I could be wrong, you know, but I'm doing the best I can for copyright. Sometimes it's really hard to tell if it's legal or not. So you just make the best call that you can. And I'm thinking we're okay. So we're going to show it in the folder. And then we're going to open it with GIMP. We can convert it, it's fine. Just to make it easier on us with the laser, we're just going to select the picture. We don't need all this extra. And sometimes, like, the picture will be hanging over the edge of the machine in the software, and it just gets really ugly. So now we're going to hit Control-C to copy, Control-Shift-V, that'll paste in a new image. Now we're going to hit Control-Shift-E, that will export it. PNG is what I always use. It's a lossless profile, like JPEG may not be good. Untitled is fine. And we're going to drop it into downloads if I can figure out where that's at. There we are. We're going to drop it into downloads, export, export. And we're going to go to our downloads folder. There it is. You see it's smaller than the other ones. And we're going to drag that into Lightburn. So let's save this. Oops, wrong button. Let's save this as swatch file. Because now that you have it, it's just a matter of changing a couple of settings here. So now that you have the file, it's yours forever. Now, we're going to go New, and we're going to go to our Downloads folder, and that picture that we made in GIMP, we're just going to drop it right in. Now, normally I check the sizes. I forgot to here. So we're going to rotate it by 90 degrees, and then we're going to, I don't know, just put in 30, maybe 35 here, whatever. So I'm not having it down at the origin, I'm having it up just a little bit. And the width, let me get a measuring tape and I'll see what the size is on the board that I want to use. And I want to go, let's do maybe 9. So we're going to bring up our calculator real quick. And we're going to go 9 times 25.4 because that's how many millimeters are in an inch. says 228.6, and I want to do a height of 228. Now remember, we know what the settings are. They are 18,000 by 50. We don't want to do overscanning. That's where the laser will actually go past the end of the piece by just a hair, and then it'll go farther. You know, in case the laser is jerking, then we can go ahead and jerk out here off the part and then come past. So overscanning is where it's going past the part before it stops. We're going to change 300 is fine. The scan angle is going to be 0. And we want to do threshold. The way threshold works is it's just black and it's just white. Because if you look at our picture here, you can see that's all that's in there. It's just black and just white. So the threshold will pass that through just fine. 300, just checking everything, and it all looks good. Now another trick that I can do also is we're going to change, we're not going to change our layer. We're going to go with a square, right? And the square, we're going to make it to be the same size as the picture, right? So the picture is 72.2 by 228. We're going to unlock 72.2 by 228, okay? And then we're going to find the XY position is 35 and 30. So we're going to put those in respectively, 35 and 30. There we go. We're going to change the settings. What I'm doing here is if you do the frame, it does it once, and that's kind of painful, you know, because then you're running back and forth between shift plus the mouse, where if you set up its own rectangle here, then it'll run as many times as you want it to while you're staging the board. So you want to change this setting. Since it's the LM3, we want to do 6,000. That's a nice speed. And max power is going to be 2.2%. Align, number of passes, let's go ahead and do 10. And everything else is looking good. Now we're going to shut the output off on the machine and only do the line. I like to move the line up to the top. That's my registration line. And we can even change the name of that to say registration. Now we're going to home the machine. The machine completed homing. Now we're going to run the registration box that we made only. So we're going to have the image shut off, registration on, and we're going to hit start. If you screw this up, it's going to hurt. You know? Now we can see where we're at compared to, oh wow, is that small? That is so small. All right, that looks pretty good. So we're gonna stop the machine. We're gonna home it again. We're gonna go back to cuts and layers. We're gonna shut off the registration. We're gonna turn on the real burn. And away we go. The nice part about Lightburn is it allows you to modify the files and work on everything while the machine is running. So we can actually start a new file while it's working on the last one, and that's really cool. And not only is it hitting it easier and getting better results for it, the tone is actually darker too. So I'm going to do a quick color swatch so you can see the color difference between borax and no borax. We could even put the feeds and speeds in here by selecting the alphabet 4500 80. Now let's make that the right size on the screen. And that's a weird font, so let's pick something else for the font. Ooh, chunk, very nice. And you can see I've been working with this, so the V space is off. So let's bring the V space back to 0. Hey, that's way too high, so we're gonna drop it down a little bit. Look at that. And then we can take the whole thing and move it to the middle. And if you wanted to be really in the middle, you have this one selected, and then you have your target selected. Right? And then here's your spacing, and we can align it. Oops, wrong one. And the way that it works is you pick the one you want to align, and then you pick the one you want to align it to. We can hit the Control Duplicate and move it over, holding Shift, and that'll get us just about there. We can go ahead and frame it holding the Shift key and see if it's still on the board, and it is not. So we need to move the whole thing. So we're going to hit minus, I'm going to hit minus a few times there, highlight the whole thing, and then move it where it needs to go. And that's perfect. So let's go ahead and hit the burn button. You can see it's just char sitting there, so it needs to be sealed. This is Krylon Matte Finish, and just spray it. It dries real nice, so you can't really shoot it too much. The only problem that I've had is if it gets too cold, like if you spray in 40 degrees or something, it'll turn white. But that's all you need to do, and it dries real flat. You can't even see that it was there. And you see it's had a couple minutes to dry now, and you can't even tell that that matte is there. I wouldn't go rubbing on it for maybe 10 hours or so, but after that it's okay. You can see the difference right here between borax and no borax. Big difference. And you can also see here where you see how it's like a brownish color. It's not a black like what's up here. And when you start hitting it harder, you can see where it's starting to smear and burn. You know, you can see like char coming off. And that can be cleaned with sandpaper. But like I said, this is superior. And yeah, it's looking pretty good there. So here's your first burn. You know, hopefully it came out as good as mine. It probably came out a little better. But it's just so cool to be able to share this with you and get you going, like doing stuff like this right out of the box, you know. Hopefully it didn't give you any trouble, and you know, as always, if it did, let me know in the comments and I'll try to help. Now the next video, I think that's part 4 here. I'm going to teach you how to do a black and white image like this, where you start seeing grayscale and things happening. You're almost there with being able to do this. It's just like one more piece, maybe 2 that we need to add to the mix, but we didn't have time to do that with this one. And I kind of wanted to start you small and then come up from there. You see, like I said, I'm so excited because we've got this now, and you're already on your way, you know? Hey, what am I supposed to say? I'm supposed to say, well, that's all for today. And it's not even today. It's like 3 a.m. in the morning when I recorded this. It took me like a year and a half to get this level. And it's just awesome to be able to get you just, you know, out of the gate. Here you go, away you go. And I've got so much more tricks to share, you know? So thank you so much for watching. You see, I'm getting ready to get out of here and get to the computer and type it up and get it right for you so you can get on your way with this. Bye.